Hey everyone, welcome back to Blow Up. Today we're diving into some of the wildest malicious compliance stories from my retail and service days. From defending my mom in the grocery aisle to outsmarting a Karen at a service station. These tales are full of attitude and pure chaos. So buckle up and get ready, let's jump right in. I have a lot of stories from my retail days, so I thought I'd share a few here and there. For background, I used to be a supervisor for a local grocery chain and worked random shifts every day. At this particular time, each department had a different uniform color, but we were changing uniforms so everyone would be wearing the same thing. While waiting for the new uniforms, the employees were allowed to wear regular shirts or polo shirts, but they had to consist of the colors white, dark gray, navy blue, or robin egg blue and have no writing on them. Pants had to be khaki or black. We also had very distinct name badges that were rather large with our name, the company name, and position title. To stand out, managers and supervisors wore red. On this particular day, I had pulled a double shift working from 10 p.m. until 2 p.m. the next day. When I was done, I was going to do some grocery shopping, then head home to crash. My mom decided to come and start on the groceries for me so it wouldn't take too long to finish. At the time, she had just had both knees replaced and needed to use an electric cart to get around while she was still healing. On this particular day, she was wearing a blue jean jacket over a white shirt. I had already gotten off work, name badge in my pocket, and was grabbing something from a different aisle when I heard this guy start screaming at someone. I was curious and went to go see what was going on. I found this middle-aged man screaming at my mother to the point that she was in tears. Immediately I got between him and her and asked what the problem was. To paraphrase his rant and remove all the expletives, this lazy worker is rolling around in a cart meant for elderly customers and should be ashamed. She needs to get her fat butt out of the cart and do her job properly or be fired. Where is the manager? I will admit, I don't get along with her most days, but in this instance I went protective mode over her. I pointed to the walker attached to the front of her cart. Sir, this customer is obviously in need of this cart for a medical reason. She doesn't work here, but I do. I had taken my badge out of my pocket and put it back on my shirt in front of him so he could see my position title. And I am going to have to ask you to leave. I will not have you in my store harassing customers as you see fit. Leave your alcohol and go. Now, I had a reputation at my work as being calm and collected, but when my buttons were pushed too far. Well, let's just say I have squared up with unruly customers who were threatening my staff before. Our undercover security guys had been standing by and must have noticed that I was ready to knock the guy out. They moved in quickly to escort the guy out of the store and made sure he left the parking lot before I did. Did I get reprimanded? Yes, I did. For what? Not consulting the manager on duty and kicking out a customer while I was off the clock. Was it worth it? Hells yeah, it was. Talk about protecting your own. Have you ever had to step in for a loved one at work? Would you flash your badge to shut someone down or keep your cool? Sound off in the comments. I finally have a story of my own for this sub, though it's pretty tame compared to a lot of them here. TLDR. A man asks for lemon juice. I tell him I don't work there. He is unhappy with that response and calls me rude before I just walk away. I was doing my shopping at a store known for the color red. All employees are wearing red, so it's pretty easy to spot them. I was most definitely not wearing red, so we can all see where this is going. As I'm walking through the water aisle, this man stops me and gets very close to my face, so I take a step back and put my cart between us. He asks if I know where the lemon juice is, and I respond politely and say, "Sorry, I don't work here." This is not good enough for him though, and he continues, raising his voice a little for some reason, saying, "Well, I thought you might know from shopping here." Honestly, even if I did know where the lemon juice was, which I truly did not since I just moved, I definitely wouldn't have told him now. It just seemed super weird to first get right up in my face and then not take my original no as a complete answer. He's even shaking his head at me as if I'm being completely unreasonable and calls me rude. At this point I just walk away from him, out of the aisle, whereupon I see not one, not two, but 3 employees, all sporting bright red shirts, that he would have had to pass to get to me. I'm not sure if he ever got his lemon juice or if he ever figured out the person to ask at a store is an employee and not just a random woman in the water aisle. I got my shopping done though, so I guess that counts as a happily ever after for me. Sometimes a simple no is all you need. Would you chase someone down in a grocery aisle or just keep shopping? Let me know your weirdest retail encounter in the comments. I went to an Aerosmith concert in 2007. My cousins and I couldn't wait to see the band because Aerosmith is one of our favorites. Upon arriving, we got there early, and when I walked out of the bathroom, one of the security guards saw me and said, "You're late. The band needs you to go get them at the hotel and help escort them to the limo." Before I could say anything of not being a security, I was rushed into the limo after being given security badge and was brought to where the band was staying. I arrived and showed the front desk my security badge, and the band got called down to go with me, and I got to ride with them to the show. I told them about the mix-up and they thought it was hysterical, but said to thank me for my honesty they'll treat me and my cousins to dinner after the show. They gave me backstage passes. Returning back to the venue, the head of security was berating the employee who mistook me for backup security, and I managed to sneak past them and get back to my seat. When I told my cousins what happened, they couldn't believe it. By the end of the night we had dinner with Aerosmith, got pictures with the band, and they gave us a ride back to my cousin's place. I have the concert shirt framed because it's autographed by the band as well. Framed I have my ticket and backstage pass and copy of the photo of the band with me and my cousins. To many who have said or will say, "Where's the proof?" You don't see others asking for proof from other posters in this subreddit on their posts, so please refrain from asking for proof. Either you read this post and move on, or say something decent but keep the negativity out of the comments. From bathroom break to backstage, now that's one wild mix-up. Have you ever been mistaken for someone else and ended up in a totally unexpected role? Share your funniest mix-up story in the comments. I've been reading this board for years, but only today did I finally have a story to share. This morning I had to bring a car to a service station. I don't know if that term is used everywhere, but around here it refers to an auto mechanic's garage. My wife and I arrived in separate cars so that she could leave hers with the mechanic and then drive home with me. While I was waiting in my car, a woman walked up and asked me, "Is that your red truck?" Keep in mind that I was behind the wheel of a car at that moment. So it's kind of an odd thing to ask someone if another vehicle is theirs. I guess I could have chained the truck to the back of my car and towed it, though that would have damaged my car. I suppose the best place to damage your car is at a mechanic's garage, since it can be fixed immediately. But I digress. Before responding, I looked around to see the red truck in question. In hindsight, I'm actually not sure why I did that. I don't own a red truck, so no matter which one she was referring to, the answer would have been no, it isn't. While I was looking around, she pointed at one across the street and said, "Can you fit the washing machine in that?" I hadn't yet caught on that I was in an "I don't work here" lady situation. I thought she was asking if a generic person could fit a generic washing machine in a generic red truck of that type. So I said, "I think you probably could. The bed looks large enough. That one's kind of full at the moment though. It had a lot of scrap metal in the bed. You might want to ask inside though. I'm really not truck savvy. I'm waiting for my wife." The woman asked, "Well, can you have someone go pick up that washing machine then?" She pointed to one sitting on the side of the road 2 houses away. Then it clicked what she was mistakenly thinking. She thought I worked at the station and was going around picking up scrap metal in a truck, even though I was in a car. So I responded, "Oh, that's not my truck, sorry." She replied, "So have someone else drive it. What's the problem?" Now, up to this moment the conversation had been a friendly one. She had a pleasant tone to her voice and my responses were equally pleasant. But her, "What's the problem?" basically screamed out, "I am a Karen." So I went into snark mode. "The problem," I replied, "is that you are pointing to a red truck. I am driving a silver Elantra. As you may have noticed, my silver Elantra has several noticeable differences from that red truck. Key among them is that it is a silver Elantra. That, on the other hand, is a red truck. That's a difference worth mentioning because one is a car and the other is a truck. Now, since I am waiting for my wife in this car, not in that truck, you have to understand that I can't very well put something in a truck I clearly am not operating while simultaneously sitting in this car. And it would be absurd to try to fit a washing machine in my silver Elantra. This is a sport compact sedan, edited, I misspoke, it's a sports sedan sans compact. It would be like trying to fit a whale in a photo booth. Plus, there'd be no room for my wife, who is small but would still be impacted by the additional presence of a washing machine." Then I smiled very sweetly. Her brow creased. I had annoyed her. "Oh well, don't Karen me next time, Karen." With a pissy attitude she said, "I obviously don't mean for you to put the washing machine in this car. I'm saying to please either get out of that car and pick up the washing machine with that truck, or else please go inside and have someone else do it." By this point, I was amused by the ridiculous conversation, as it was very clear I didn't work there. I was a customer. So I said, "Well, I don't really tell the people inside the station what to do, other than saying, my car won't go. And then I pay them to fix it." That's where the Employment Upgrade Edition part from the title comes in. Apparently, she mistook my comment to mean I pay them because I own the place. So she said, "Well, maybe you should start telling people what to do if you're paying them. Look, I just need you to have someone grab the truck and pick up the washing machine. It's an eyesore. Why is this such a hassle? At which point I said, well, let's examine why. You mistook me for an employee, even though I several times told you I'm just waiting for my wife. You asked a guy sitting behind the wheel of a car if a truck was also his. You failed to pick up on the fact that I am a customer at this service station. You then made the logic leap that I own the place, and you proceeded to give me advice on how to run this station that isn't mine. On top of all that, you bizarrely think that a car mechanic would pick up a washing machine, one that you left at the sidewalk, I might add, so I can only assume you are not looking to have it fixed but are instead throwing it away. That means an auto mechanic would have even less reason to come get it than if you needed it repaired, since this is, in fact, an auto mechanic. Just like it's not a washing machine repair shop, it is also not the town scrapyard. And that, ma'am, is why this is such a hassle. She took a moment to let that all sink in, then her face blanched and she did something you typically only see on TV shows. She clamped a hand over her mouth in shock as if she were about to utter her character's weekly catchphrase, accompanied by a laugh track. Typically something like, "Did I do that?" or "Doe," or "Ruro," or "How you doin'?" or "What you talkin' 'bout, Willis?" or "Danger Will Robinson," or "Just one more thing," or "Marcia, Marcia, Marcia," or "To the Batmobile." Instead she said, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Oh no, I'm sorry." Then she walked away looking mortified. I feel bad for her, but I sat there chuckling, thinking, yeah, I'm posting this when I get home. And here I have. That conversation is priceless. Have you ever been mistaken for someone you're not, just because of a uniform mix-up? Let me know your funniest, "I don't work here" moment in the comments. A little backstory. A while back I came out as a trans woman, and everyone reacted as I expected, family, friends, and coworkers. But my coworkers seemed to be more defensive over people dead-naming me than anyone else. And with the staff turnover, it meant that the core staff would always introduce me to new staff as my preferred name, rather than my birth name. And lately when new members see my legal birth name on the rota, they ask who that person is, which is what makes me laugh and reminds me of the following story. Cast, aliases used. Jack/Jill equals me. Grandma. Newbie. Andy. Mike the legend. Dylan the cherry on top. So it's a mid-afternoon and I'm just in my room, possibly playing a game on my PC, not important, when I get a call from Grandma. I say hello and ask what's up. She seems like her normal peppy self, but it's clear she's a little bit shocked and appalled that so many people at work don't know who I am. I'm a little confused as to what she's talking about, so I agree with her and ask her to explain. She tells me that she went to visit me at work, but when asking the staff behind the register, they'd never heard of me. I told her that we do get a lot of new staff, and maybe they haven't met me yet. She then proceeds to place the last piece of this puzzle and tell me that she asked for Jack, but no one had heard of a Jack working there. At this point it all made sense and I covered the phone speaker while I headbutt my computer desk. I reiterated that they must have been new and hadn't met me yet, then we ended the call and for once, I was looking forward to my next shift. I went in for my shift and casually said, "So, I heard my grandma visited the other day?" And this is what they told me. Grandma walked up to the register and asked Newbie, who did actually know me but as Jill, if Jack was in today. Newbie looked puzzled and told Grandma she doesn't know a Jack that works here. This was the first button pushed that set Grandma off on a speech that put me up on a pedestal, like I was someone to be very lucky to know. Then Andy showed up to the counter and my grandma asked if he could tell her if Jack was in today. Andy also only knew me as Jill, and thus he had no clue how to help Grandma out. Second button pushed. Grandma set off depicting me as a biblical god, only a little bit of an exaggeration. But luckily Mike, knows me by both names, saw from behind the scenes what was going on, and quickly rushed around to the counter to explain that Jack was not in today, but also informed her that I go by Jill now. All buttons pushed. Grandma quickly silences Mike and informs him that nobody uses that nickname around her because she doesn't like it. I wish I knew what other things were said during that moment of the confrontation, but when I caught up with Dylan, he gave me the ending I didn't know I needed. The whole time this was happening, Dylan was on his break in the restaurant area. He watched it all go down as he ate his meal, but then suddenly Grandma turns around and walks towards him. Dylan thinks carefully about his next move. Grandma simply says to him, "I can't believe nobody in this store knows my grandson Jack." Dylan only knows me as Jill, but by now he's pieced together the puzzle, and Dylan loves to light the fuse, so to speak. So with an internal grin as devious as the Grinch, Dylan simply replies, "Who's Jack?" And with that, Grandma raises her arms, shakes her head in disbelief, then storms out of the store to go home and call me. We all had a good laugh. I do love my grandma, and I accepted that she will only ever see me as her grandson. But when she decides to go to my place of work, where everyone respects my life choices, and dead names me in front of staff that have only been introduced to me as Jill, I honestly don't know what she thought she would accomplish there. Also, before I came out as trans, my grandma would visit the restaurant every now and then because my shifts had me sleeping through the day and working through the night, so it was the only way she'd get to see me on a busy week. But after that visit, she never came back to the restaurant again. And yet she still wonders why I don't visit her often? Family can be complicated, especially when names get mixed up. Have you ever had a family member call you by the wrong name in a big way? Share your funniest name mix-up in the comments. That's it for today's epic tales of malicious compliance and retail drama. Which story had you laughing, cringing, or nodding in agreement? Let me know your thoughts and any similar experiences in the comments below. If you enjoyed these wild stories, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Blow Up, and ring the bell for more real-life antics every week. Thanks for watching, stay bold, stay real, and keep blowing up those expectations.